Hey everyone, welcome back to the Legend Fiction Show. We have a book launch for you today. Katy has just landed a new novelette. You share with us a copy of it, and there you go, Mark's Noble Quest. Hey Katy, welcome to the show.
Hey, Dominic, it's great to be back here with you.
Katy, you have been there and back again across the country with, was it a ferret in the back seat? No, it was a bunny? I forget. What was in the back seat?
Guinea pigs. A ferret would have been a lot of trouble.
Guinea pigs in the back seat. You're driving across the country. Then you flew back and you started a new show while you were driving. So you've kept us up to date. You've had a whole bunch of adventures. And then somehow, apart from getting a new job, moving across the country, being a mom, everything else you have going on that I don't yet know about, you then went and found the time to still write a novelette. And I'm going to ask you what that's all about in a moment. So first, catch us up with what is this new book and what's been going on with Katy?
Yeah, so Mark's Noble Quest is a story I am very excited about. You do have to, it actually is a direct sequel to Rosalind's Curse, which is essentially a Sleeping Beauty retelling where she wakes up in the year 2017 and has to integrate into modern society. So there's culture clash. It's got very strong elements of what it means to be like a Christian in a modern secular world. So that's really funny. And then her romantic interest, Mark, in the story, he's a really normal 21st century guy, and he's got to deal with all of this stuff. So in the sequel, Mark's Noble Quest, it's all about him going on an Arthurian adventure to try to impress her, because she kind of thinks he's a wimp because he's, the soft 21st century guy who doesn't know how to fight or do anything like that.
I thought it was so fun. I just finished reading it yesterday. First of all, you have to tell us why you got fairy monks in this thing. But the outline of the story is he's not manly enough for a princess who is used to having knights fight for her honor. And like you said, he's a modern 21st century guy, and just like taking people to town with his fists just isn't the way to resolve things. And then he ends up going on this massive quest. Tell us a little bit more. So first, what are the fairy monks? What are they about in this fantastic world? And they set him up on this quest. What's the inspiration there?
Yeah, so Brother Joseph, the fairy monk in question, he first shows up in Love, Treachery, and Other Terrors, which is my first book. And within this universe, there is a theme that fairies exist to help people learn and practice virtue. So, when you end up in a Beauty and the Beast situation, a beggar comes to your house, you better give him a coin because it might actually be a fairy, and they might curse you if you're not careful. So I went kind of in that direction with when I was designing and world building with these fairies. And one of them is Brother Joseph, who is the fairy of love. So he definitely is a personification of the sort of agape, charity, all-giving, self-giving love. And he comes into the story, into Rosalind's Curse and into Mark's Noble Quest as a person who's helping both Rosalind and Mark understand what the meaning of true love actually is. That it's not these, butterfly feelings, but it actually involves sacrifice and giving a complete gift of self to the other person when they don't feel like it, when they don't want to. It's about setting boundaries. It's about helping each other. It's about all of these things. And that's kind of the role he plays to help both of them develop spiritually throughout the series, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the role he plays, and this whole quest is all part of that for him.
Yeah. Is this story is it a sequel? Is it a what if episode? Is it something that you could read in between chapter 12 and 13, or how did you plan this?
So it's a direct sequel to the first Rosalind's Curse. So you have to have read Rosalind's Curse in order to kind of follow what's going on. Okay. And where we left off at the end of Rosalind's Curse is, you have Mark and Rosalind kind of in exile, having escaped the enemy from the last book, and they have to kind of lie low because they got in a bunch of legal trouble due to shenanigans and stuff. They have to kind of lie low, and it's during that period while they're lying low that Rosalind really starts to realize, Mark's not manly enough for me by her standards of what a man should be. Mm-hmm. And he's starting to feel like maybe she might be right. So the quest is as much about proving to himself that he's strong as it is proving to Rosalind he's strong. and also understanding how he can be a strong man as a 21st century man as opposed to a 13th century man that is going to go around, battling monsters and that sort of thing.
So now I got to ask, what's the inspiration for this? Because you were married to a 21st century man, so, I am one, and most of us all around are. So I guess why did you feel the need to mess around with this story and have some fun with it?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of talk lately, just online in culture and politics about what true masculinity is. And I see these kind of extremes online because, everything online is like the most extreme.
Yep.
Right. So you have like these red pill bros who are, saying that, men have to be these strong men that just work out and just like dominate over women and all these other things. And, you even have some of that starting to leak into the way Catholics and Christians think about masculinity. I think in response to extreme feminism, right? That says men are worthless, they're not good at anything, and, anything they can do, women can do better. There's been kind of a backlash to that that's also been very toxic. Yeah. Like, sometimes it kind of I hear these extreme feminists and then these red pill bros complaining about each other, and I'm like, oh, you guys used to date, didn't you? That's what caused all this. Yep. So it was very interesting to me to explore what true self-giving masculine strength actually was. And a lot of that is inspired by the truly strong men I've had in my life, right? So my husband has never killed anything, right? I hope not. Or like my dad, right? But, my grandfather, all of these men I've had in my life have just had this fortitude and this endurance that has kept them doing what they needed to do to be good husbands and fathers and leaders in their families. And it's been stuff like, my husband, when I had just had a baby, my baby was very colicky. This was my first one. I was having postpartum depression and struggling. And he sat there with a screaming baby in his ear for like 3 hours, just rocking her back and forth and singing to her and patting her back. And when I saw that, I was like, now that is masculine strength. That is endurance. And that is what, St. Paul means when he said, husbands, love your wives as Christ loves his church, on a practical, day-to-day level. Men who are willing to make the sacrifices they need to love their wives as Christ loves his church. That was my inspiration for kind of exploring what does this mean, right, to be a strong man in the 21st century.
What are you hoping that the book will accomplish for people? And I guess I should ask, who do you anticipate reading this? And if it's, I'm going to assume, a lot maybe young women or women more than men who love following your work, then does a book like this help them reset their expectations of how healthy masculinity would treat them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that is a great question. So yeah, people to read. Most of my fans are women who will read this, and I want, like you said, I hope that it will help paint a picture of what a strong man looks like and what they should, not settle for anything less than this, right? But honestly, mostly just the idea of a 21st century man going on an Arthurian quest just was hilarious to me. And I wanted to kind of to paint that picture, and specifically the idea of Mark as a character, because I fell in love with Mark's character when I was writing him in the first book. I just thought the idea of him trying to set out on an Arthurian quest was hilarious. So that's the primary reason that I wrote this book. And I am hoping that, while having fun consuming this adventure, women will, and men who read it will kind of be inspired to think more deeply about sacrificial love and about family as well.
Oh, it's got so many funny little one-liners. I wish I could remember them, but hey, that's what you do best, being a comedian. So, one, what's going on in your life now? And two, I guess because of all that, what's next for you now that you've got this book launch?
Mhm. Yeah, so oh my gosh, my life right now is pretty much insane because I'm right in the middle of moving from Washington State to North Carolina, which is why my office behind me is just a void right now. We've just cleaned it out. So we're taking our whole family into a trailer in a couple weeks, and we're driving to North Carolina, and where my sister and her husband is. And then we got to, try to find jobs and get settled and send my kids. There's a really great Catholic school there that we're going to. So get all settled down. So it's kind of like this huge leap of faith we're taking. And it's basically just been really insane. But I'm looking forward to getting back to writing more once we're settled down there. And then I've got a couple projects in the works. So I do have the next book in the Rosalind's Curse series is been in the works for a while, and that's going to take Mark and Rosalind's character to the next level. So that's what I'm really excited about. That I'm very biased towards the Rosalind's Curse series because I just think that Rosalind and Mark, given their culture clash, are such a funny combination to write together.
It's such a fun way to reflect on different cultural values. How we think about things today versus how they did in the past. And so where can people go online to score a copy of, it was Mark's
Noble Quest.
Noble Quest, not Last Adventure. Okay, Mark's Noble Quest. Where can they go to find you online?
Yeah, so anywhere online you can buy books. So you can get them on Amazon.com. Just search Mark's Noble Quest or search Rosalind's Curse. You can get them on katysfables.com, so that's KATYS fables.com. BarnesandNoble.com, anywhere. Just go to your favorite, just Google Mark's Noble Quest, and places to buy it will come up.
Okay, excellent. And then last question, which we have to ask, what is a novelette, perhaps compared to a short story and then a novella, which is like a short novel, I think. So you've then gone to write a novelette. So what is the definition of that? And why did you pick that?
So I didn't know that word existed until I wrote Mark's Noble Quest and realized I didn't know what it was. So this Rosalind's Curse is a novel. It's about, there's rules about the specific word count. I think for it to be a novel, it's got to be at least 40,000 words. And most of my books range from 40 to 60,000 words. Then I wrote Mark's Noble Quest, which, as you can see, is a 100-calorie book. It is skinny. And that one, it was longer than a short story, so I don't want to call it a short story, but it didn't make the word count for a novella, so I looked it up, and the exact word count is a novelette. So I didn't know they had all these different words for these things, but yes, it is officially a novelette.
So there you go. Good friends and writers, if you don't want to be writing something as long as a novella, but it's definitely got more heft to it than a short story, maybe a novelette is your answer. So check out katysfables.com, have a look at the links in the description, grab a copy of the book, support Katy so that she can keep writing, and go ahead and follow her on social, follow her website, join her mailing list so that you can follow along her own adventures as well. Thanks for coming back on, Katy. Everybody else, please keep writing, because we all need to know what stories are locked up in your own story hoard that maybe one day others might enjoy.